Hi, Estelden here. So The Last of Us 2 has been out for about a month now. I think I saw on Reddit that it had been, the 1 month had ticked over. And a lot's happened since it's come out. It's not just your typical game that comes around, you play it for a while, you like it, you don't like it, you move on. It caused a massive scene in the gaming community, and everyone was all over it. The problem that I had was the people who liked it had a very cultish mindset surrounding it. And anyone else, whether you were just on the fence, maybe you did like it, but you thought maybe it was a little bit lacking. It might not have had the substance of the first game. The story just missed the mark a little bit. No matter what, you were painted as, you were called names. It was a really, really unhealthy kind of reaction that went down with The Last of Us Part 2. So now that the dust has settled, I think it's important to take a bit of a look, because this sort of stuff is going to happen again. Whether it's another Sony game or it's one of the big publishers, that kind of behaviour is going to continue, and I want to kind of dive into as to why and have a bit of a conversation about it. So, a lot of people have given their thoughts on this game. I don't need to go too far into it. I'm in the camp that it was not very good. It's a game that seems to be written around someone's kind of agenda. It's like one person wanted to do something with this series and this game, and everyone else who was on the team were pretty much yes men. And I want to say that a lot of the people, I'm sure, the boots on the ground who are doing the art and all of that stuff, they're fantastic. They're not in those boardrooms when the decisions are made to kill Joel. They don't have a say in that. I'm sure with an environment like this, if you're someone who says, hey, look, what are we kind of doing? You're straight out the door, and they get someone else in who's been in school and just been out of school for 5 minutes, and they just throw him down and he'll do the work now. He'll do the work for minimum wage and all the overtime and all of that. That's fine. So they don't care what you think. It's just Neil Druckmann and his cronies essentially creating this game, and it went in a direction that the fans didn't like. Now, normally that would be fine. And if we take a look at the Metacritic here, I was actually just having a look at some of the negative scores just before, but look, as you can see, it's a Metacritic must-play. The thoughts would be that this is incredible, this is a classic, this is the next Ocarina of Time, or whatever. But the user review doesn't reflect that, and a 5.5 after everything that's went down is probably quite fair, and that 5.5 comes after Metacritic tried to interfere. A whole bunch of fans of the game and Naughty Dog as a studio tried to interfere with this as well and do everything they possibly could to discredit this score and ensure it wasn't there. It was like their little masterpiece and their trophy for this game, this Metacritic score, was being kind of like interfered with and taken away because of what the users and the so-called negative people thought of this title. So the attitude was extremely cultish, and the first thing I want to say is that when it comes to these sort of negative reviews, everyone discredits them because of the number. They say, oh, it's been given a 0. This game is not a 0. That's unacceptable. There's people who worked on this for years. There's incredible art. This is not a 0. Forget about that for just a minute, because the people who are giving these scores, they're not paid to do it. It's not their job. They're someone who plays the game and they want to give their opinion on it. They can't do it on Reddit, because if you go, and I've just had this up to show you something else, but if we jump on Reddit for an example, The Last of Us Reddit, you're not allowed to post anything negative on here. At the start you could. I can tell you that when this subreddit, The Last of Us, and this is a pretty big one, to bring it up, 160k people on here, so there's a lot of fans of this game will jump on here. When this game went live, on this subreddit, you were allowed to post negative feedback. So there was a lot of threads about this story is complete garbage. They've ruined these characters. Like, we've waited, 5-7 years for this game, and this is what they've come up with? It's pathetic. That's what a lot of people were saying, and there was a lot of agreement in that here as well. But very quickly, it was all kind of swept under the rug. Hush, hush. The posts kind of disappeared, and they were replaced with pretty much what you see here now. Artwork, the occasional posts like, yep, Last of Us helped me get on path to forgiving my late mother. Absolutely fantastic, that's great. But that's all that's allowed. You're not allowed to post anything like this. I think this missed the mark. That's gone. You're not allowed to post anything like that. So there's nowhere else that you can kind of give your thoughts. So people are doing it on Metacritic because that's going to be a place where the developers are going to see it, Sony are going to see it, and potential fans or potential purchasers of this game are going to see it as well. So the people who try and discredit this and say you're not allowed to post your thoughts here, there's a whole list of reasons. People get a whiteboard out and have a whole list of here's what you need to do before you can give your thoughts on this game. So they want people to come on here and they have to have completed the game. Some of them need to have like an essay in filmmaking or video game making or narrative design or something. Like you need something like that to give you critiques. Not to give a positive review. If you just want to say, yep, this is great, 10 out of 10, and there's plenty of those, as you can see, 64,000 of those, that's fine. But if you've got a problem with it, then you need to have, there's all these criteria that need to be met. And that's quite ridiculous, because the real problem with Metacritic is not that people are coming on here and review bombing, as they say. It's the fact that they're called user reviews. Like, I can admit, and you see this guy here, my disappointment is immeasurable. My day is ruined. I waited 5 years to play this, and they gave me a horrible intro and so-and-so ending. I just want to forget about this game. That's a fair thought and summary of the game. I can't argue with that. Is it a review? No. So the problem for me is not that people are doing this. You need a place where you can honestly give feedback, and it's from both sides, not just these hive minds on Reddit or wherever else. Give people somewhere to do it, and Metacritic's a good place for that. So instead of blocking reviews like they've done now for Ghost of Tsushima, where they don't want anyone posting on it, and they made a passive-aggressive comment about you need to finish the game first, don't do that. Just change it, whether it's user feedback or something else. People should be allowed to give their thoughts, and there doesn't need to be a score. Not a score here. The individuals don't need to give a score. Just make it like a thumbs up or a thumbs down system. And you do that, you're still going to get an averaged out user score based on how many people and the data behind that. And you'll probably get something quite similar to the 5.5. So this argument that, oh, it's not a 0, anyone putting a 0 is a troll, they haven't played it, they haven't done this, I don't care. I don't fucking care, because another thing that comes with this is if you want to give your feedback on something, you don't need to have finished the whole product. To give an example, let's say like a TV show, like a House of Cards or something. I watched that show. It had a good season or two. I lost interest and I didn't want to watch it anymore. If someone asked me what I thought about that, or if I wanted to post my thoughts, I would say I didn't really like it that much. It had some good moments, especially in the start, but overall, I lost interest. It wasn't a great overall show. Am I not allowed to give that feedback because I didn't sit there and watch all 6 seasons for 30 or 40 hours? Because that's what a lot of the people say when it comes to these reviews and giving your thoughts, that you need to have finished the whole thing. I can tell you right now that the people who are giving 100 out of 100, all of this, 95, 90, these people did not finish the game either. Not saying all, but plenty of them didn't. There's a lot of evidence if we go back and look at like an outlet like IGN, where there's actual proof of them not finishing games, like Resident Evil 2, where they didn't even know that there was an A playthrough and a B playthrough. They did one of them, gave some feedback, and then people sort of jumped onto it and they had to change their tune. So stop pretending that these people who are in the certified Metacritic reviewers or critic reviews or whatever they are, that there's some holy kind of grail of what's allowed and what isn't. Because they're just people too. They're reviewing a ton of games and they're not finishing it either. Don't give me that. You don't need to have finished the game to give your thoughts. It's just crap. And that's something that kind of plagued it. And that's that cultish mindset as well, is people will do anything on the side of the people who say they love the game. They will do anything to discredit anyone who doesn't like it. I go again on Reddit, and this is a thread I was looking at, which is very, very relevant, because they're talking about the review bombing again, partly due to the review bombing of Last of Us Part 2, Metacritic has delayed user review submissions, and there's the passive-aggressive stuff I was talking about. Please spend some time playing the game. So, they're kind of jumping on that bandwagon of the people who were saying anyone who gives a review is now a troll. Metacritic have come to the party and agreed with those people, which is pretty disappointing. I think a lot of people know Metacritic's going downhill, and this certainly doesn't help, undermining people who want to give their thoughts about the game. And they're now jumping onto the whole train of, oh, look, everyone's going to review bomb, they're going to do it, everyone's just going to review bomb. No, people don't just review bomb for the sake of it. There is always an underlying reason behind it. People just simply don't give a review of anything unless they're really, really pissed off. If I get something, like let's say I go to the dentist or something and they do a reasonable job, and I go in, I go out, I'm not going to think about giving a review. If I go in and they chip one of my teeth and send me on my way, yeah, then I'm going to be going in, I'm going to give a fucking review. Like, that's what's going to happen. So, it always comes down to the circumstance. And there's people like this, you play as a Japanese dude, that's enough to trigger some of the capital G gamers. Have any of you played Sekiro? Because that game's truly incredible. It's a special game. Had a lot of Japanese people in it. I'm pretty sure that's the whole cast. And people loved it. No one was talking about whether they were Japanese or what, because it suited the story and the premise. Like, that's what it was. So, Ghost of Tsushima's the same. No one's going to give a shit. And I haven't looked at the user reviews yet, but I highly doubt there's going to be any drama because people consider it to be, from what I've seen, a decent game and another good game in the Sony lineup. So coming back to the cultish aspects, because that's where I think it's really important and where this whole kind of spectacle of what's gone on with The Last of Us Part 2, where it's kind of led to. Neil Druckmann's very much been in the center of that. That was from the very start when he was putting out videos saying, I was crying after yet another playthrough of the game that I made. Like, that is ridiculous. Like, to think that that's going to be some sort of selling point, that the guy who created it had all these yes men telling him what a great guy he was, what a genius he was, patting him on the back, that he's crying about the game, that's not a selling point. And it was really weird. It was really like narcissistic or something, just the kind of way he's gone about it. And he's had a go at anyone who's disappointed. I've got this here ready. He keeps retweeting things where someone will praise something about the game and call it incredible. He won't ever kind of look at something that says, this was a pretty good game, I had fun with it, great. It's always these people who want to tell you about how, like, this is that groundbreaking stuff, and that this was not just a good game, but, like, this was sort of out of this world. It's pushed the entire industry forward. And the fans are very similar. For example, this guy. These are the kind of legit reviews that count. This and Girlfriend reviews are the best reviews so far. There are baseless and dumb ones like Angry Joe or Skill Up who own the blah blah blah. So he's essentially saying that anyone who dislikes the game has to be in some sort of category. There's no one who's just allowed to say, yeah, this wasn't my cup of tea, or this was middling. It's always got to be like these extremes. They revel in extremes. And Reset Era do it as well. Now, this is a forum that I kind of go to for a laugh sometimes. They're not to be taken seriously. And they've quoted one of those reviews where they talk about how it's similar to Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction. It's like David Fincher's Gone Girl. No, this is popcorn entertainment. This is The Last of Us Part 2. It is a mainstream Sony game. This is not like classic cinema or something like that. It's a typical revenge story. And the revenge story stuff it's been on my mind because a lot of people have told me that, no, it's not a revenge story by any means. It's been actually created from the ground up to be so much more than that. That's what these people are saying. Now, if you actually look at the development history, and from the horse's mouth, so this is coming from Neil as well, he admitted that the decision, and this is a spoiler by the way, but the decision for Ellie to spare Abby's life, they decided to add that kind of at the last minute, if we look at the perspective of the development and everything. So the whole game was created from the ground up for Ellie to kill Abby. So it was just a revenge story. Later on, when probably most of the work had been done on the game, certainly from a story point of view, they decided to change all that and make it so that Abby lived and she could go on her way. How do you then say that it was from the ground up, it was built to be something more, because it wasn't. They just decided to change that. And this isn't me, like, looking at a 4chan post or some rumor. Like, this is from Neil. You can find this. Like, Neil has literally said this. And people still jump to that like it's some sort of genius. It's not. It's just Neil woke up one day and said, "Oh, I think we'll let Abby live. Maybe, oh fuck, like I've killed off everyone in this series. We don't really have a series. Sony's going to be like prodding me with a broom and saying, "Come on, we need to get that sequel underway. We got money to make." Oh shit, I don't have any characters left. Better let Abby live. And for me, when anyone talks about why they don't like this game, they're pretty clear with it. There's some great examples. If you go on the Last of Us 2 Reddit, there's a whole pinned thread about why people don't like the game. There's nothing like that when it comes to why people do like the game. Maybe they'll talk about the gameplay side of it, sure. But from a story perspective, not very much. They'll tell you just it's genius, it's incredible, it's breaking new ground, it's out of this world, this industry will never be the same. But they can't tell you why. It's like the Emperor's New Clothes. It's a fugazi. It's made up. It's make-believe. They don't really have a great reason. I mean, all this stuff that we're seeing here, this is just wank. To talk about all these 4 different timelines that complement, reflect, and intersect each other, similar to Quentin Tarantino. Why? It's not. It's like, this is really simple stuff. And people have talked about this. You'll find this kind of stuff in like B-grade movies that people just put on for popcorn flick entertainment. This is not groundbreaking. It's a good laugh, honestly. Like, if there's anything this game's kind of provided, it's that entertainment, and it's that this mindset. And I don't want to go too much into it. It's a bit controversial, but it really feels like, and just looking at this picture here, like, if you put a couple of other characters in their place, like let's just say a couple of white guys, and that was the story, and it was about these 2 angry white guys who were angry about what had happened. Like, there is no way that this sort of praise would be going on there. These same people on Reset Era would be calling it a pile of junk, if that was the case. But because it features Ellie, who happens to be a lesbian, it features Abby, who's gotten a lot of shit about her body type, people I think a lot of these people feel like they're going to lose their political arguments if they don't tell you how incredible this is. That's what it really feels like. And there's a lot of evidence from that, from the way that the really cultish aspect of it. It's like, fuck Trump. I mean, I'm Australia, I don't care about any of that crap, but that's what these guys are kind of going on about. And now that the dust has settled, it leads to a deeper problem for Sony, I would say. Because Sony have had a lot of, I wouldn't say bad luck, but a lot of bad things kind of happen in recent times. They had Death Stranding come up, and that's a game, I think a lot of people didn't like it. And not for these reasons, no one was able to blame it on anything. It was just a game that a lot of people found boring. And once that kind of the dust settled on that, we got, I think it was Days Gone before it. It was one of them, but Days Gone came out somewhere and people thought, sure, like this is all right, but we've seen so many of these different sandboxy kind of games now, whether it's Horizon, whether it's Breath of the Wild, or whether it's just Ubisoft junk. There's been so many of those games in the Xbox One, PC, and PS4 generation, whatever. There's been so many that people are starting to get a little bit sick of it, and they're getting a bit more fussy about what goes on, and Days Gone kind of came out at a time where people were a lot harsher on those sort of games. And now we get to The Last of Us Part 2, when it's at very best, and even if you like this game, unless you're really impartial and you're just absolutely in delusional world, even if you like this game, you have to admit at the very best, it is divisive. At best. Sony are not going to be happy with that. People point to the sales. I've seen a lot of people who like it. They'll go, no, look at these sales records are incredible. That's a result of game one. When you make a classic game or a classic movie or whatever, people are going to see the sequel regardless if it's a pile of shit or not. Because that's what you've built. You've built a brand. You've built a series. You've built up characters that people connect with and they like and they want to see more of. When you shit on them, the sequel after that, it's not going to have that same goodwill. People are going to remember and go, right, well, you've killed Joel. You've turned Ellie into a shell of her former self. Who are we going to watch? Are we going to watch Abby? Are we going to watch Lev? I don't care about them. You might as well make a new IP, because these characters to me are worse than brand new ones, a fresh slate. So Sony are going to be furious, I would say, because Naughty Dog was the golden child, the flagship studio that was bringing Sony a lot of that credibility. It was selling PS4s. It was getting people in and invested in the PlayStation brand. Now it's on troubled waters, because when you've got something like The Last of Us Part 2, that's no longer a series that's a system seller. And Uncharted's pretty much gone. If they go with an Uncharted 5 or something in the future, whether it's Naughty Dog or Sony managed to get someone else to make it, people are going to be a little bit skeptical and say, hey, you sort of said this was done and now you're desperately putting another one out. It's like a rebooted movie or something. That's not going to be a system seller. So Sony are in a troubled position because they certainly have other studios. They've got Guerrilla Games, they've got the God of War studio, and those ones, I mean, Bloodborne from Software, maybe they've got something else brewing with them. I'm not sure, but it's not really a sure thing anymore. There's a lot of games that Sony have come out with that are exclusives that haven't quite been the same, and I think they're going to get sick of it when we go into the new console generation. I don't think Sony's necessarily going to be seen as the studio that just keeps coming out with these heavy, brilliant hitters that everyone's going to go and want to play. They're going to look at it, and they're going to say, right, this new Sony game's going to come out. Is this going to be another Last of Us Part 2? Are Sony going to try and cover up all of the negative feedback? And are they going to say, are they going to try and pretend it's something that it's not? And false advertise and do all of that? So I don't know. So it's a tricky position. I think we'll see what happens with Ghost of Tsushima. Maybe everyone loves it. All the fans really love it. Sony moves on into greener pastures with the PS5. But I'm really not sure. I think things are changing. Naughty Dog certainly aren't the golden child anymore. They're going to be like a mid-tier studio for Sony. I don't think Druckmann and co. are going to be allowed to just have free reign for 7 years and create whatever they want. I think there's going to be some harsher restrictions there. I think they're going to have to kind of look at a new IP or something, because you move on to The Last of Us Part 3 and a lot of people are just not going to buy it. It's not going to sell systems. So that's pretty much it. I'm looking forward to see what happens next. I hope that the people who've been burned with this game start to realize that there's a lot of this crap going on in the gaming industry and just media as a whole. I've seen it happen a lot with TV shows and movies in the same vein. I mean, you just have to look at Star Wars and Game of Thrones and all of that. I'm looking forward to see how the community kind of reacts to what comes next and see how they're a little bit harsher with everything. Thanks for listening, guys. Please like and subscribe. I'm going to have a lot more honest conversations about these games that are coming out. I want to get a lot across about what's going on in this industry and hopefully point people towards some actual really good games, whether they're big ones or indie ones. So thanks a lot, guys. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.